Hello everyone, I am Lisa Hunkley, Mineral Nutritional Balancing Practitioner and Integrative Nutritional Health Coach. I work in my practice called Hunk of Health here in Memphis, Tennessee, where I see clients in person and virtually. Just like many of us here in the wellness space, not only did I navigate my way through my own chronic illness issues, but I also had my son who had extremely challenging health and behavioral issues as well. So today I come to you as a mom and a practitioner to talk about what I'm seeing on HTMA in kids. Today, how processed food is playing a major role in nutrient deficiencies and what we can do about it together. So why does this conversation matter? I think that most of us are keenly aware that we are at an absolute pinnacle of emotional, behavioral, and physical issues in children. We're seeing more children struggle with focus, mood, basic regulation. This isn't just a behavioral issue or lack of discipline issue, it's a biochemical issue. I really believe our kids are not broken, they're just undernourished and missing critical nutrient minerals. So they're not starving, but the foods that they are consuming is starving them of nutrients. So many of us are trying to do the right thing for our kids. We're offering home cooked meals, we're cutting back on sugar, but by the time a lot of parents are coming to me, they have an arsenal of things that they've tried in hopes of gaining some traction on various undesired behaviors, digestive issues, and even sleeping difficulties. But when I look at HTMA results from children today, even from the most health conscious families, I'm seeing widespread deficiencies, imbalances, and signs of chronic stress. And it's not just about what's happening at home, it's the larger food culture that is hijacking our kids' health. Today's food environment, as we know, is not built for health. It's fast, it's cheap, it's highly addictive. Processed food culture has taken over even the most well-meaning environments like schools, sports teams, and church youth groups. Snacks there consisting of things like brightly colored sports drinks, goldfish crackers, and meals that are provided look like highly processed pizzas and sodas. Both of these options, unfortunately, have little to no mineral nutrient value whatsoever. This directly leads to blood sugar dysregulation, mood crashes, and behavioral issues. Again, it's not a lack of discipline, it's a lack of minerals. We're seeing clear signs that something is wrong with how kids are functioning today. And HTMA, I believe, gives us a really unique lens to see what's happening at the cellular level and understand why. So the first big hurdle, in my opinion, is, the hyperpalatability issue, right? Today's foods are engineered to override fullness and satiety and to rewire their taste preferences for the things that they're eating. So kids aren't being just picky, their palates are literally being hijacked by flavor enhancers, super sugars like sucrose and dextrose, and then artificial colorants. These colorants and dyes can bind to their digestive enzymes, impairing their ability to break down into amino acids. So if that digestion is impaired, then kids are not going to be absorbing amino acids like tryptophan and tyrosine, which are critical for making neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA and dopamine. I don't think that anybody can disagree that it's really hard for broccoli to compete with cheese crackers that are dusted in fake butter flavor. The food industry really knows how to hijack a kid's brain through these chemical additives that they're doing. And, it's not just at home that is the issue. It's really everywhere that kids, are provided meals or snacks. Even the kids, like I said, that are eating real food at home, and then they get exposed daily at school lunches, sports activities, church youth groups. I have a teen that I'm working with now, and he told me during his intake session that his mom won't buy sodas and bring them home. And so when he goes to youth group, he drinks 3 sodas while he's there. He strives to hit that number. And the fact that this is even an option to me is wild. And it brings me back to the biggest frustration I hear from parents today, and that is that, they're saying we eat so well at home and we're trying so hard, but they get so much junk elsewhere, and really they just can't compete. Like I said, their taste buds are being hijacked, and no one's going to come home and want to have broccoli after having, pizza and Oreos and Doritos and sodas. It's just not really physically possible. So let's talk about what hair testing is telling us. Many of these behavior issues we're seeing in kids, meltdowns, focus problems, low resilience, are they really these behavior issues, or are they mineral deficiency problems? Some of the patterns I'm seeing in kids today is something that we call a 4 lows pattern. And I'm seeing a deep 4 lows pattern, and that is when calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium are all well below ideal ranges. So we're seeing burnout showing up in young kids today. I'm seeing kids in really extremely slow oxidation with inadequate adrenal and thyroid activity. I'm seeing a lot of really, really low sodium and potassium ratios, and kids typically run a little bit lower on their sodium to potassium ratios than adults do. But again, seeing them in a really low position is going to be linked to, really poor stress handling, decreased immunity, and even more allergic tendencies. Seeing something that we call the belligerence pattern, and that is when magnesium is very, very low, and it can look like anger, ADD type symptoms, irritability, nervousness, and even hyperactivity. Seeing another pattern that we call aggressiveness, which is extremely low calcium. So when calcium becomes really low, the person is typically in fight or flight, and a symptom of this is aggressiveness. And I can attest, as a parent who has navigated raising a child that had extremely low calcium and magnesium, and had sought so many avenues for help. But until I detected it on HTMA, we were not able to get a handle on it. And it makes for a very tough home environment where everyone is walking on eggshells, trying to avoid the next explosion. Again, I'm seeing 6-year-olds with nutrient profiles that look like chronically ill adults. It's not genetics at this point. It's environment and nutrition as a foundation. So, obviously when we're looking at hair testing, we're not looking at just whether certain levels are high or low. We're looking at the relationships of all of these things together. But, again, I'm seeing extremely low calcium and magnesium. Magnesium is burned more quickly with sugar, since magnesium is required to process sugar. And I think one of the important things that, I want to make a distinction here is that, we're always telling people to consume less sugar. It's bad for you, it causes inflammation and all kind of these more organic type of things. But I think that, how are we ever going to get a handle on, our magnesium levels if we can't really cap that sugar? So obviously more sugar, more demand, faster magnesium depletion. Again, low potassium, so we're going to see, hypoglycemia. We're going to see issues with cell permeability. If there's, improper cell permeability, then nothing really can function quite right in the body. I'm also seeing a lot of really low sodium. So again, we're going to have really low stress resilience. We can even have some depression type, moods. Again, with low sodium, there's going to be improper hydrochloric acid production, which is going to lead to improper digestion. The other thing that I'm seeing is extremely low zinc. And so when we have low zinc, we're going to have issues with sensory processing. We're going to have mood swings. Low zinc obviously alters the taste and smell of things, and so that can lead to more picky eating. And it's also going to lead to increased susceptibility to illness because of the effect on immune function. So, and then with low zinc, we're going to have a lot of copper imbalances, which can lead to anxiety, emotional volatility, and even skin issues. Another important one I want to point out is low manganese. And so with low manganese, we're going to potentially have some histamine degradation issues. Obviously, histamine can be much more complex, but since manganese acts as an activator for DAO, essentially turning on that enzyme and allowing it to break down histamine efficiently. When manganese is low, then histamine can certainly be an issue, especially since processed foods are higher in histamine to begin with anyway. So we have all these fast burning carbs and chemical laden foods, and they really are depleting minerals, and it's having a long-term effect on children today. And we're seeing it in HTMA. So what does this look like in real life for parents and teachers and anyone who is a caregiver to children today? We have things like fatigued but wired behavior, mood swings, meltdowns, or just complete shutdown, difficulty focusing, difficulty starting tasks, and really anything in that full executive function, profile of skills. We can see social withdrawal, hypersensitivity, being fearful, being obsessive, having super clingy behavior. And then we have, kids who are labeled as lazy or oppositional, but in reality, they're just depleted. Then we get into things like light, sound, texture, and smell aversions, kids that are easily overwhelmed by busy environments, really having difficulties with transitions. And a lot of those symptoms can look like spectrum diagnoses, and even sensory processing disorders. Again, back to that histamine degradation issue, which, histamine issues in kids can look like a lot of these symptoms above. So I think it's really important to note that, we're asking kids to show up regulated, and connected, but we're giving them foods that deplete their ability to do so. So, what can we do about it? Obviously, using HTMA to guide individual mineral nutritional support without overwhelming families is a foundation for me. I think that, helping our clients focus on real mineral-rich foods, meat, eggs, sea salts, root vegetables, broths, whole fruit. Again, crowding out those processed snacks with homemade options is a start as well. Doing our best to make it fun. I really think that making sure that our clients here are supported heavily in this arena is critical. And I just want to state that providing nutritious food does not have to be costly or time consuming. I think the next thing that we need to look at is obviously setting a good example. Kids learn way more from what we do than what we tell them to do. And so when they see us making healthy choices, they're more likely to follow. And we just need to do our best to encourage healthy habits for the kids to model. I think taking time to sit down for meals together and model that balanced eating for them is really important, and to try to enjoy food as a source of nourishment. When I look at eating my meals, I do my best to ask myself, like, how many nutrients can I put on this plate? And sometimes it doesn't always look like a recipe. Sometimes it's just various, foods that I know that are going to make me feel good and give me the minerals to get me through the day. We really have to do a better job about making sure that meals are more than just Chick-fil-A in the car on the way to the next activity. I think that for kids that are interested and willing, having the kids help in prepping, having them choose a new food each week to try from the store can be helpful as well. That way they feel like they have a choice in the things that they're being asked to eat in the house. I think it's really up to us as practitioners to really, really educate here without shaming. This is a really difficult issue for a lot of families, is providing nourishing foods for their kids. And again, they're really up against that wall of the hyperpalatability of the junk food. Again, this is a system-wide issue. This is not a parenting failure by any means. So I want to talk to you about a bigger vision that I have, and that is how to advocate, in your community. I believe that every parent, every teacher, every practitioner, anybody that works with children here has a role to play. So talk to your teachers, talk to your coaches, talk to your group leaders about how nutrition affects behavior, and share what you're learning from HTMA to kind of build these bridges. I have a sample letter that I use, and I will let my clients use if they feel called to reach out, again, to schools, churches, local organizations. And this letter offers a gentle, informative, yet actionable approach to advocate for better nutrition in any setting that is caring for our children. I think that sending a letter kind of takes the pressure off of allowing you to communicate, your concerns in a more clear and constructive way. The truth is that many of the behavioral and learning challenges that teachers and caregivers are facing today stem directly from the foods that they are being fed in their daily environments. And so I mostly see it as a welcome conversation. And I would encourage you to not be afraid to have that conversation. I think that we've all kind of adopted the attitude of, oh, well, everyone else is going to bring Oreos and Doritos, or, I ate those things growing up, and, oh, one treat here and one treat there, it doesn't really matter, but it does. And the food system has changed, and so many people are unaware of, how dramatically these different ingredients in things that you may have grown up with have changed. And so I really would like to use this as a call to action. We can't control every single food environment, but we can certainly change the culture around it. And I would love to have everyone work on raising a generation of kids that are nourished, balanced, and absolutely thriving. Thank you so much. It was so great to be a part of the Wellness Collection, and I look forward to doing this again in the future.